First day on the job. Phase 3. This is gonna be fun. I'm just gonna call Phase 2 Anne and get the lowdown from her. Oh, she rejected my call? Oh, this is gonna be a mess. Hey everyone, it's Reburn and welcome back to part 3, the final part of my studio building vlog. 8 months later, it's time to finally finish this space. Now, I'm gonna assume you're already caught up on parts 1 and 2, so like I said in those videos, at this point I want to start adding fun finishing touches to the room. But first, because I hate when videos make you wait till the end to see the final transformation, here's a little side-by-side of the before and after. There's more footage of the finished room at the end. But now, the final part of the process. The first thing I got was this light switch plate. Wait. Was that day 138 to day 227? What's going on? Okay, so there's a pretty big time jump here. What have I been doing? Well, I did a huge music video. I did 7 covers plus a few collab projects. I went to the NAMM music trade show. I finally went to Yosemite after living in California for 6 years. I had not one but 2 weddings to the same person, one in my hometown, one in my husband's hometown. They're a mere 4,000 miles apart. I found out my apartment had roaches. I found out my apartment had termites. I also got COVID and feel like I'm still not quite back to normal, although I think I am improving in a non-linear way. So I had tons of doctor's appointments, tons of insurance stuff, separate appointments for special tests, and of course, all the tests came back normal, so that must mean that my issues don't exist. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about my room. Now, you know this whole time I've been putting off shortening my curtains. I was struck by a fleeting moment of motivation and I tried to take the curtains down to do it, but I realized I can't because of the cool curtain rod. Because of the way it attaches to the wall, I can't just slide the curtains off. So instead, I decided to take a look at some acoustic panel solutions and maybe design a wall with these felt tiles. I didn't end up needing that though, because a few days later I got these big foam panels for free. I posted about them on Instagram. I'm soliciting opinions. Check this out. I realized they're supposed to be mounted not on the wall but on a stand, hence these holes. How would you mount these on the wall? A few geniuses suggested a shelf and I loved that idea, so I measured the panels, did some Googling, and placed yet another IKEA order. Spoiler alert. While I waited for that to arrive, I decided to work on the other thing I've been putting off this whole time, painting over the spots on the walls. I didn't remember exactly what paint I bought for this room, just that it was definitely different than the paint I used to paint the living room, which I do remember what I bought out there, so I read about cutting a sample of paint off the wall to take in to get matched. This X-Acto knife is the only thing I can think of that I have that would be even moderately appropriate to cut a piece of paint off the wall, so let's see how it works. Also, I couldn't find this at first. It wasn't where I thought it was, and then when I did find it, I found 2, and I only ever remember buying one of these, and it was like 10 years ago, so I don't know what's going on. This clip is so boring because you can't see what's going on, but trust me, I was struggling. Okay, that's a piece of the wall right there. First time sawing a hole in the wall, so I would say I'm pretty happy with how that came out. Me and my paint chip going to the store. I bought the smallest can of paint they had in this color and a few mini rollers. Everything else I had from previous paint jobs. It only took me 7 months to go buy this. How long do we think it's gonna take before I actually paint it? I'm on a roll right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and spackle over where I cut the chip out. That way I can use this as my test spot for the paint that I just got. The hole was patched, and the next day before showering, don't judge me, it was time to paint. You know that thing that you've been putting off for a long time? Don't say that you don't have one, I know that you'd be lying. I'm here to light a fire with a message just for you, that you should do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say, not as I do. Not as I do. Just do the thing, it's been so long, it needs to get done. Do as I say, you should go do. And you'll feel so much better when it's through. was so easy, and I put it off for so long because I just could not get myself to do it. Glad it's done now, though. My shelves for the acoustic panels arrived, as well as a big picture frame I ordered to add some art to this room. My trick for figuring out where to hang something when there's no one around to help me is to take a video of myself holding the thing up and moving it around to see different options, and that's exactly what these videos are. I decided on the wall above the keyboard because the frame is pretty big. I'm not hanging it up yet, though, because I'm actually going to get a custom mat cut for this frame. The print I want to hang here is 60 by 80 centimeters, and I can't find any frame here with those measurements. I know that custom framing is going to be too expensive for me, but what I can do is buy an inexpensive frame and get a custom mat cut to fit it. So I'll be taking the frame to the store with me before I hang it up, just in case they need to measure it. Next is building the shelves for the acoustic panels. And as I was reading the instructions, which I always do, what do I see? A part saying that my acoustic panels are too tall for these shelves. If this had been listed anywhere on the product page online, maybe I wouldn't have bought these. Or I probably still would have, but with a little more hesitation. There's a lot of unboxing in this video, huh? I wanted some magnets for the side of my filing cabinet to hold my lists and important papers, and I found these on Etsy. There are few things I love more than a super salty cheese cracker, and now I can profess that love even in my interior decorating. This is insane. I want to eat them. Yesterday, I picked up my custom print with its framed mat from the store. They went ahead and put it all together for me too, and it looks so good. Okay, pause for me to tell you about this. This print is from an artist called David Shrigley, and I've been eyeing his stuff for a while now. This one in particular really spoke to me. For some reason, the first time I stumbled across his work was on a really expensive site outside the US where I would probably never be able to afford it, and I didn't think to look anywhere else. When I was thinking about what to put in this space, my two brain cells bumped into each other, and I found that this artist has an official Etsy site where he sells prints for a very reasonable price. And this isn't sponsored, nothing in this video is. I'm just happy about it, so I wanted to share it, because I got to get something I love and directly support the artist doing it. Several of the fun decoration things I'm putting in are from small businesses like that, and that's something I love to find and I love to support. I'll put a bunch of links in the description, but if there's anything you don't see linked in the description, please let me know in the comments. I love this part. It's just buying things that I like. This next thing is something I've been wanting in my house for a long time, and I've been following this particular pair of artists for several years, waiting for the right moment. It's stained glass. My grandma had several stained glass pieces in her house, and that's part of the reason I've been wanting one of my own. This isn't as big as hers. Hers were like big panels that took up the full width of a small window, but with the style of most apartment blinds and windows in LA, and with my budget, this is the best choice for me for now. I see on this informational card that was included that it has some secondhand or vintage glass too, which I love. Once again, I use the take a video of myself trick to figure out where to hang it, and up it goes. I really liked the design and the colors of this one, and also I finally didn't miss the sale window, because this is a duo of stained glass artists. They make in really small batches, and then they do drops on their website at certain times. So everything sells out really quickly. Even though I've been following them for years wanting to buy something from them, I always miss the drops for one reason or another. Okay, time to focus on some things that aren't as fun. I'm hanging up the shelves. Well, I'm attempting to hang them up. I don't have a stud finder because what do I look like? A competent, handy person with a garage to store things in? Because I'm not. And I think I did run into a stud here because one of my drywall anchors just would not go in all the way. I found this out after already having made a huge hole, of course. So I'm gonna patch that up and wait until tomorrow to hang this end of the shelf. Do I have a putty knife? Again, do I seem like that kind of person? I don't, but I am scrappy, and this plastic knife will do. At least I was able to get the other shelf hung up and the curtains taken down for me to shorten them. And the room looks super weird now with the curtains taken down, so much so that I can confidently say that is the single thing that has the most visual impact on the room. So tonight I'm leaving it looking very weird and bare, but it's ready for me to work on it tomorrow. I've only been putting this off for 10 months. I'm finally shortening the curtains. I have this iron-on hem tape that I'm gonna be using because I do not know how to sew, and I know I am ashamed. I decided to start with the inner sheer curtains because they're lighter and I figured they'd be easier. So I'm just going down the line, removing my pins, measuring to make sure it's straight, and ironing the tape in there. These ones were super easy. Between these and the heavier green velvet curtains, I have 8 panels to do. It took me about 2.5 hours to do them all. The tape definitely had a harder time with this heavier fabric, and it's the heavy-duty strength tape. Not that you need my personal review because there are already thousands of reviews of this stuff online, but I think it will hold okay because it's curtains and they're not going to be moving very much. If it was this same heavy fabric on something I was wearing, like a pair of pants or a dress, I don't think I would really trust it to hold. On the lighter fabric though, it was so easy and it's holding great. Then I tried to put the curtain rod back up by myself. I don't know why I thought I might be able to do this. I wasn't even able to take it down by myself, but I think I just hated the way that the room looked without the curtains so much that I had to try. It didn't work though. And at this point, it had been about 24 hours since I patched that hole in the wall, so back to the shelves. I got my second shelf hung up. You can see that the tops of the shelves are level, but the bottom of the one on the right is slightly lower than the bottom of the one on the left. I don't think this is an issue with how I hung them up, but I also don't know anything. So the last thing on my list is this thing on my desk and seeing if I can do 2 sets of monitors here. Remember these speakers that Kali Audio sent me in the part 2 vlog? Well, that's what I'll be trying to set up. I have all the gear I might need, but I still need to figure out how I could arrange everything, so it's time to get in there with a measuring tape. This measuring tape right here is how wide the base unit is, so ideally it would go right in the middle of the desk where this part is, but it can't because already the rack components have to go to one of the sides. This is how wide the part where the rack mount components need to be. So already there's a huge overlap here. This base unit would have to get moved off to the side like that. And that leaves us a really, really small section over on this end. This is me realizing I don't think there's any way that I can do this. Now this base unit has to go in the middle, so I thought, what if I split up this thing and put the rack mount components to one side and then have another one on the other side just so these speakers stay at the same height. But then the little round speakers for this thing have to go on the desktop, so where would they go? They would have to go like right where the legs of this thing are. And this, as it is, this part isn't tall enough for this speaker to go under it. I thought maybe I could do this same setup but put the round speakers up here and just angle them down towards my ears. But the measurements for that just won't work. This right section would be about this wide. But as you can see with this little base here of this circular speaker, it is just barely wide enough to fit them both. It's right on the edge. And here's another issue. If this is where the base unit ends and this is where the other part of the shelf begins, the base unit and its speakers have an ideal distance that they're supposed to be apart from each other. So let's say the unit ends here. The speaker is supposed to be placed right here. So you would place this base for the speaker right where this template requires. And look where that puts it. It puts it right in the middle of this monitor. My thought is that the 2 Yamaha monitors could go on monitor stands to the side and back of the desk, but where? I thought about alternatives for these rack mount components too, like for example, what if I put them sideways under here? But they would still stick out pretty far. This is about what it would be like to give you an idea. Plus, and this is maybe the worst thing, if I put it on the side like this, that means all of this mess that's back here, and it is a mess, would be sticking out right here on the side. I mean, that needs to be hidden somehow. I also thought, what if I put this like diagonal over here? But that interface on the bottom is pretty deep. It's about this deep, so unless I want it partially hanging off the side with all of those mess of cables back there hanging off too, I would have to put it something like this. And I think maybe that actually takes up even more space than if it's just straight. I can't go much wider with the desk either. On this side, it goes right up to the closet door. And on this side, I have my filing cabinet and my amp over here. I mean, could this stuff go somewhere else? Maybe, but where? This wall space is even shorter than the one I have over here, and there's a pretty small walkway already between the bed and the piano, and here's the radius of the door, so can't put anything there. I could move the amp under the window here, but I kind of like having it over here where it's more protected from the sun and the heat. It also weighs a ton, so whenever this second trundle bed would pull out, the amp would need to be moved somewhere else, and if this space is full, where else am I gonna move it to? I know this seems like a dead space over here, but I really need the entirety of this corner to be able to open this closet door, see? The good news is that even though I wasn't able to set up the speakers tonight, I was able to set up the Bluetooth input module that Kali Audio also sent me in the last vlog. This little thing will allow me to play anything over Bluetooth, like from my phone, for example, over my studio monitors. At the end of the day, this is an audio recording and video editing space, and also a guest room, so I don't think having 2 sets of monitors is the most important thing, but I still would be very interested if you have any ideas about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in those comments. So I guess I'm ending this video with the biggest cop-out ever, because I'm like, but is a project like this ever really, truly done? And I think the answer is, it's done for now. If you aren't already, maybe consider following me on Instagram or Twitter at HearAnnRoar or TikTok at AnnReburn if that's your thing. Thank you so much to my patrons for making this all possible. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end, and see you next time. I'll leave you with some video of the finished space. Oh, and what about the closet that I had to unload like 1,000 times? You know what? Let's not look in there.